Good morning, friends. Welcome back to the Legend Fiction Livestream Show. I'm your host, Dominic. We are an online YouTube channel and community to inspire authors, especially indie fiction authors, to start and finish their dream novels, find their authors, or their audience, and sell more books. That's exactly the kind of journey that I'm on. Got novels I want to finish. Been wanting to finish them ever since I was 13. I finished a couple and then somehow lost the habit of actually being able to get stuff done. Maybe that sounds like you. And so what we decided to do is put together a channel, a community for people who are inspired by their faith and who want to do good in the world and want to have a ton of fun with their fiction and believe that all of that should come together, can come together, and it does. And so this YouTube channel is a place where I hang out with you to answer any questions and talk about what I think and try to be as helpful as humanly possible. And honestly, to have as much fun as humanly possible and share with you all of the stuff that I'm trying to do to create to inspire people. Because the number one thing that I'm finding is that if you treat things, I guess it's a bit like gamification, right? If you can treat your writing like a game, and there's reward systems and there's leveling up and there's skills trees and if there's a way that you can observe the progress that you're making, if you can feel good about what you're doing, you'll enjoy it more because you'll learn faster, you'll do better, as opposed to the productivity bro mindset where you're trying to follow somebody else's system and you can often run aground. Which is why today's conversation with is a little bit about finishing. We want to talk about finishing. Now we do have two guests coming on. We have Kay. Oh goodness, what was his name again? He's a guest I have not yet met, J. Kenton Pierce. I got the letters mixed up. And then we've also got Sam Robb. They're coming on to talk about their latest books. So that'll be top of the hour at about 11. We're also coming off the the convention that happened this past weekend. So I am starting the process of clipping out the individual talks, and I've got a cool roundup every week. I have an email that goes out to everybody on my email list of all of the stuff and things that are going on in our community, things that we're working on. I'm going to screen share that and walk you through that. It's really really cool. Been doing it now for 3 weeks. I think I'm going to keep going. So that's one. Two, we're coming off the con. All of the content is being clipped out, and one of the things that was promised that I'm going to work on as soon as where I can squeeze it in is canvassing all of the replies from everybody across the weekend and turning it into a story guide to help people who are kind of curious about, I don't know, what should I read? What should I not read? What do people want? And if you're a storyteller, this is basically a cheat sheet to what people are looking for who come to the con. And it's probably a really good indicator of what people are also interested in the culture. We have a variety of different ages and opinions in there. And so we'll put this together and it'll be our first time story guide. And hopefully it's something that's really very helpful. Okay, let's get into our first topic because that's kind of what you're here for. You probably clicked that YouTube button, the thumbnail you're interested. Let's talk about finishing, right? If you're like most of us, you're struggling with a habit. Okay, we've gone through a couple of deep dives talking about finishing, or not finishing, imposter syndrome and just having too much and writing when you're busy and all of this. A lot of it can feel pretty overwhelming sometimes. So actually getting something finished can feel like a monumental challenge sometimes. Well, I'm here to tell you that finishing is a skill. It's something that you can learn to do. It's not just a personality trait. There are some people where it is much easier for them. And so maybe we need to study why it is. Why is it that they're able to get something done? I am the poster child for not finishing something because I have ADD and I'm always coming up with, you know, interesting new things like, oh, new novel idea. And so just, storing it all the time. Major things I'm trying to accomplish with you on these conversations is help you see what I see, and if it's helpful, you can let me know. But I'm trying to clear out some of the stinking thinking that gets inside our head because if you're like most of us, you're trying to figure out how to be a writer. So you're watching authors online, you're following people online, you're Googling advice on how to get stuff done. And more often than not, you have other people telling you, here's what you need to do. And instead of kind of couching it in like, here's what I'm doing, here's how it worked for me. And if you just try to follow everybody else's recipes, you run aground, you get stuck. Why? Well, because everybody's advice literally works for them and their life situation. Now, it could be that you might need to change some of your life situation. Like for me, um, I'm not finishing big novel projects. What am I focusing on doing? Short things, short stories. Sometimes if you're setting yourself up with a massive project or a massive goal to finish, well, you don't do it because it feels massive. You literally don't have the energy. Um, hold on. That screen isn't supposed to shut down like that. It's supposed to continue looking really cool in my background there. Come on, that's cheating. Stay up. Um, where was I? Sometimes if you're setting yourself a massive project that you want to accomplish, you lose energy because you know it's going to take you a lot of energy. And if you have never practiced, like it's like taking a marathon, right? If you've never practiced walking a single mile and getting to the end of that mile and then kind of giving yourself a massive thumbs up, like, hey, I did it. It wasn't too hard. And then 2 weeks later or a week later, you do 2 miles, 3 miles. You literally need to experience the win in yourself to tell yourself or to so that you can observe sort of getting your sim character of who you are through a finish point. If you're going like, I'm just going to start a whole novel right now, and if you have everything else at your life eating at you, it might not be possible to do. And you might end up adding a ton of pressure and a ton of stress to what you're trying to do. I mean, the worst scenario would be you end up coming to hate the thing that you kind of love. How many people kind of go through life and have unwittingly trained themselves to hate the very thing that they love doing because they know it's going to cost them something and they're not yet ready to pay that price. And it might be dropping your friend group, changing up your major. I don't know. Could be getting a new job. It could be changing your schedule, changing your sleep habits, and you just not going to be ready to do these things yet. What does all of that mean? It's like, well, whatever this thing is, it's obviously not that important yet. But it is someday, or you want it to be, or it's just life is busy. You have 4 kids, you have 3 kids and a job, and you have a dog, and I don't know, you run a farm, and everything's going on. First of all, like I said, I don't like the whole productivity bro thing. It's like you gotta just go max, go hard. You gotta force yourself to get it done. You have got to get yourself through. I'm not sure that works for everybody. It does not work for me. I get that kind of advice. I get anything from somebody else telling me that, unless they're like an actual authority that I respect and I have to follow. Um, it doesn't work because I will find ways out of it, or I will do a bad job, or it just won't happen. Especially if it's something that's sort of self motivated and it comes out of my free time. I'm just not going to pay attention to doing it. So that's a bit of a problem. If I can't strong arm myself, right? It's a bit like what is that thing where you sort of arm wrestle? It's like arm wrestling yourself. Who's going to win? Good answer. Um, you can't arm wrestle yourself into success and call that a win. So, what do you do? Here's my recommendation because here's literally what I'm doing. You stack up the small wins. Okay. Now, this is totally an ADD also sort of thing. So, this may not totally work for everybody, but I'm just letting you know, as it works for me, maybe you can try it. But um, there's this thing that's for especially for ADD people where you literally can't chug the frog first thing in the morning. And by that, it means if you've got like a massive task or a project that you don't want to do and you don't like doing and it doesn't excite you, and this could be at work, this could be in your personal life. If you've got a project that you're not interested in doing, now some people, it can be absolutely the best thing for them to be like, I don't want to clean my room. I do not want to tackle the housework. I definitely don't want to be doing the laundry. Well, sometimes good advice can be suck it up, get it done. Think of how amazing you're going to feel when it's over. And you take a deep breath, okay, fine, you just go do it. That can work sometimes. When it comes to creative stuff for me, it doesn't work. Um, I can't shove and force my way through it, partly because it just disappears. It doesn't want to be done in a forceful way. Hey, Vic, good to see you. Good morning. Creativity doesn't follow strict guardrails. I know it's true. Same for me. Um, ah, So what do you do? So for me anyway, chugging the frog first thing doesn't work. So if I can stack small wins, it's kind of like revving the engine, right? You sort of tap that a little bit. So what do I do? Maybe first thing in the morning, find a short little project that's a bit fun that's going to be a quick win. And I literally kind of game myself into feeling good about having done something. Maybe at some point I'll share this, but I actually created a font for myself this morning. I messed around with like Chat GPT. You can sort of see here, took my logo and I created it in a font that is similar to my Legend Haven logo because it was so cool looking. And I thought, what would this be like? So I messed around with Chat and ended up creating an entire font style sheet and I got that done. And so that actually felt kind of cool. Ooh, that's done. Okay. As soon as that was done, I could then take that, drop that into its background, run off that video. Now I've got a looping background video, and that's done. Now I got to figure out how to get it to actually loop and look real nice. Maybe I need to make it longer or something. Um, that's done. Then I can move on to the next project, and I will have eased into the day, eased into my workflow, stacking little wins. When you literally start feeling good about what you're doing, when you feel confident that you can actually get stuff done, you keep moving. Okay. Now, this might actually work for a whole lot more people than just what do you call them? Neurodivergence, whatever, like me. It might actually work for a lot more people to sort of ease into these bigger projects. Now, maybe not. Now, here's the if you're doing this, if this is sort of your daily habit, okay, you get into work, you pull up to your desk, or you're doing whatever it is. What are a couple of initial things that you can start doing as opposed to, well, I've got all these little tasks, I've got this massive problem task to do first. What if you just tackle a couple of the little tasks first and you can then check them off? Like, how satisfying is it to take that highlighter and just done, done, done? It feels like progress. Why? Because it is progress. Now, okay, we're not yet talking about fiction. I know we'll get there. But if you can literally experience making progress, getting stuff done, instead of going about this massive, I don't know, load of laundry, housework to do, what if you just go, you know what? Best I can do right now is put everything in a big pile, maybe sweep the floor, and that's it. And I'll do more another time. And then you get that done, like, okay, give myself a piece of chocolate, have an extra cup of coffee, a little bit of a reward, and celebrate the fact that you got something done. It is true. A lot of us have a very hard time finishing things at all, especially when it's self motivated, because everything in life will demand all of your attention everywhere else. Like, tools like your smartphone and everything. The difficulty with being a creative is that you are more, I think, right? Maybe I'm not. You tell me. More open and receptive to the world around you than most other people. You probably pay attention a lot more, or that's going to be something you'll keep developing. You pay attention to a lot more people, to data, to ideas, to reactions, to sensory stuff. So there's like you're 20% more online than most other people. That can be exhausting, especially when everything in your environment, especially if you don't build an environment on purpose, but everything in your environment from work, from your computer, your smartphone, everything is about draining your attention away. When was the last time you actually sat down and read a book that you enjoyed, or actually felt relaxed enough to watch a show? Okay, now I may be just totally talking out of my own disorganized way of living, but it's actually extremely rare. I'm usually trying to cram in like a little bit of a reading of a book or trying to watch a show in between everything else going on because just life feels constantly full. When was the last time you actually finished a book that you really enjoyed and you sort of did it in a leisurely way? When was the last time you actually felt like you had time to do the things that mattered to you? If you don't have any of that going on, it's actually you're going to have the same problem when it comes to writing your fiction. Now, I'm a big proponent of the fact that there can be seasons to your life. It may very well be that once you get to retirement age, you will have all the time. Or once your kids grow up a bit more, you'll have more time. Or when they graduate, maybe it is practical to say now is not the time when I can do all the things that I am hungry for. So maybe now is the time to actually be storing up the energy, storing up the steam. Okay. We've talked in other deep dives about um, uh, doing less, being intentional about your day, about letting some things go, building little structures and habits and practices and habit stacking. So maybe if now's not the time to actually be like blasting through writing this massive novel, getting 1,000 words a day, if that's just not where you are, maybe that's okay. Again, as always, I will say there are some people who just have no personal discipline. Their lives, their room is just a trashed out mess. You can't follow a deadline. You're constantly time blind. Nobody can depend on you. At that point, I may not be the best person, or sort of like I don't know, coach or, you know, you're probably not watching this channel. Um, because it does take discipline to not only raise a family, run your own life, but actually then do the absolutely impossible concept of like bringing a whole new world to life and all of its characters and then taking them through very traumatic situations until they survive the end of the novel. Um, if you're struggling already to handle your own life, you're going to have a harder time probably running your own novel where everybody else is going through chaos. It's just probably going to feel overwhelming. Now, there's some people who make it work. Most of us, I'm going to guess, it just doesn't make any sense that you'd be able to. So again, what do you do? Again, my recommendation is do short stuff. I'm writing short stories, best I can do right now. I don't have time for the big novel. Get a new idea, I'll brainstorm it, store it for later, archive the ideas. Don't lose anything. Sometimes you can repurpose ideas, take them from one project, drop them into another, and go, oh my goodness, this is even better. There's still might be some juice in that project, and I might come back to that at some other time. I don't know, but store stuff. Now, this is sort of the second step to just if you can finish little things and sort of get that feeling of winning, right? Get that feeling of having completed like anything. It's you're in a much better mental state. You're in a much better creative state if you can literally see yourself finishing like anything at all. You know how they say over your desk you should have a big sign that says "Writers Write." Well, it's true, but you can't always write fiction. So my recommendation is write or pay attention to anything that you write. When you go to write your emails, can you work every word? Can you write every sentence and actually make it good? When you go to write a social post, actually pay attention to writing. Every single thing that you're doing in writing is communicating. You're communicating what you think, how you want to think. So pick the words, maybe try a different style, uh, follow your favorite author, right? Everything can be a form of practice. So yes, writers write. It's not always may not always be fiction. This just might not be the right time. But if you can finish, like, I'll do one social post every week. That's my goal. That's it. Or in my case, I'm routinely unnerved to hit record or hit the live stream and show up and just, go live. Once it gets going, I feel more relaxed and I can just get into it. Before it, I'm always second guessing. Why? Well, because I'm not sure what I'm doing. So I have to come up with a quick little answer. So I made a little schedule for myself. Here's the talking points I should probably talk about that seem helpful. The community is talking about them. I'm thinking about them. So just literally make a list so that I know as soon as I hit live, let's just talk about this issue. And if someone shows up in chat, well, we can field their questions, line up a couple of guests to, make it fun, which is why we've got two guests at the top of the hour. Um, if you can do that, just think ahead. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. And then here's what finishing it looks like. That right there is, I think, the major second thing I want to talk about, right? Do you even know what finishing even a small thing looks like? Okay. So I think we'll probably cover those 3 points of advice here in talking about this idea of finishing. One is, are you finishing anything at all? And if just making it small, just doing small things. I'm going to make a cool little graphic. I'm going to write 10 words in my novel. I'm just going to read one chapter of my book. Okay. And not this massive thing. Okay. Line up small things and do them. That's a win. Now, second, do you even know what finishing something can look like? Like, stop for a second before you start a project and assess what does an end of this thing look like? Let's say it's a pile of laundry. Well, the end of it could be like beautiful piles of laundry and maybe a little reward, and then it all goes in the closet. Or if it's like, I need to write a chapter, but I can't do the whole thing. Well, I've got this sort of scene. I need my character to walk down the stairs and turn right. That'll be enough. And then as soon as you hit that point, okay, you're good. You've got it. You did it. It's a bit like getting on the bus, right? Nobody gets on the bus without a plan where they're going to get off. If you get on the bus and just say, I'm just going to ride this bus for as long as it goes, you might never get on because you have no idea where the bus goes. You have no idea where you're going to end up. Now, for some people, that is absolutely catnip and that is fun. And that's how that's awesome for them. May not be for you. It might be, well, I'm just going to ride it for 2 blocks and then I'm going to get off. That gives yourself a little bit of permission. Okay. Identifying an end goal, right? This is something you've probably seen in your own life. People have talked about it. The amount of time that you allot for something, a project will always fill all of the space that is allotted for it. If you decide, well, I'm going to give myself a year to write this novel. Your project will balloon out to fill every inch of that space. If you say, I'm only going to give myself 3 months to finish this novel, well, then you'll restructure and your novel will balloon out to fill a 3 month window, right? Um, if you don't allow a massive amount of time for something, if you go, it'll only actually take me 30 minutes, 10 minutes, and I'm going to write and I'm going to be done. There's going to be a timer and then it's going to be done and I will have finished that experience. I will then, I think we sometimes forget, we're mind body composites, right? We work together. Your body is kind of has to also feel like we did it. We did a good thing. Are you proud of me? It's a bit like training a dog. Okay. If you tell the dog sit, first bunch of times you're throwing treats at that thing so that it pays attention and learns and it feels really happy and it associates, hey, we did something cool. Treat, please. I've got my dog. Every time I go and make a smoothie, I do it every day. He is routinely coming into the kitchen and he's trying to park himself right at my heels. Can I have a blueberry? Please, can I have a blueberry? And I turn around, and look at him. I don't want to turn around and accidentally step on him, crush his paws or his tail or something. So I'm routinely yelling at him, get out of my kitchen. And he knows. I don't even actually have to talk to him anymore. As soon as I turn around and look at him, he now knows. Oh, and he sort of scoots up and he backs up all the way to the edge of the kitchen. And then I toss him his blueberry and he catches it like a champion. Um, but it's hilarious that he knows every single time I turn around and look at him, I just have to glare at him. Boom, that's it. He scoots backwards. And sometimes I'll just hold that stare. And then like, oh, he starts getting like really nervous. Okay, here's your blueberry. So what are we doing? We're creating habit reinforcement. I want this response. I'm going to reward this behavior. Maybe I'll punish the behavior I don't want. I'm going to reward the behavior I do want. Um, your body with you yourself, you are your own Tamagotchi. You're your own sort of sim pet. So identify simple, small projects, create a clear little deadline that you're going to do it. There's a bit of a reward that maybe you'll give yourself, or you can enjoy the actual experience of having finished something. That is so much better for you than looking at yourself in the mirror every day. Or if you're kind of like me, studiously avoiding the mirror because you don't like what you see and you feel sort of guilty about, oh, I'm never doing anything that I want to do. It's like, well, why? And maybe ask yourself. There you go. Pavlov's writer. It gets it. Pavlov's writer. Why aren't you doing anything that you want to do? Nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody else is here to do it for you. Nobody else cares. Nobody else is going to take time out of their day to do it for you. It's like it's literally important to you. It's like for me, I think like literally sitting outside on the outside bench, just doing nothing, just breathing and listening to the birds once a day, maybe. I keep telling myself like I don't deserve to do that. I gotta work. Gotta work. The day's so full. And then I realize I don't want to be the guy who gets to like 70 and then I'm like, now I can sit outside. I should do that now. Health benefits, peace, mental health benefits. There's like so many benefits. And I like doing it. So I should. So I'm trying to do that. And I always feel better afterwards. It's always a good thing. It's a better contribution to my day. So here's the third part, right? If you can identify small projects to do, this could be in stories, right? Creating a small short story or a piece of a short story or a small chapter or just some plot ideation or just some brainstorming, like a little bit. Okay. Doesn't have to be massive. Allow yourself a little bit. And then finish. Identify, well, today all I'm going to do is like this much, or my timer is going to be for this. What happens is something fantastic. You start building a sense of confidence in yourself that you can finish things. If you're chronically believing that I can't even start because if I do, I'll never finish. I don't know how to finish. It's just going to sort of languish and fall apart. And I'll just sort of slowly ignore it and it'll fade away. And I just don't want to be that kind of person. Okay, there's a little bit of retraining because this is the point of today. Finishing is not a personality trait. Now, some people might have it more easily. Why? Probably because they can very clearly see the end and the reward for them finishing feels so massive that they can eliminate everything that's going to get in their way and they just burn through time and energy and they just get that done. And then when they're on the other side, like we just look at them and they're just like incredible. These people are amazing. How do they just ship stuff constantly? How do they they're done constantly? Like TC Ross, for example, she's writing 1 million words in like 1 year, I think it was. Every 3 months, she's basically finishing a new draft. Now, what has she done is she's literally built a skill. How do you ever build a skill? when you literally have a bit of confidence in yourself that's like, "Hey, I got this. I can do this. This is pretty cool. I think I can do this." How do you do that? You literally have to start small. One word in front of the other, you start small things, small projects, small habits, you get them done, and then after, like, a month or something, you look back and go, "Hey, look, I've got pages of stuff that's just done." Okay? This is literally a mindset thing. It's a mindset plus a habit training thing. Maybe a fun, simple little thing to do is buy yourself a little bag of jelly beans. Every time you finish a project or you finish anything, reward yourself with a jelly bean. And maybe make a deal with yourself that you're not going to actually have one until it's done. Okay, it could be an Oreo. It could be like, I don't know, another cup of coffee or something. I'm gonna get another cup as soon as I finish this thing done. Can't have another cup of coffee until I'm done with my 10-minute little writing segment. The end of a week, at the end of a month, you then go and look back at what you're everything that you've accomplished, and you go, wow, I actually did a lot. I actually finished 2 chapters. I actually finished 2 short stories. I went from being somebody who wasn't sure how to even begin because I was afraid I wouldn't finish, to building up a sense of confidence because if you don't have confidence, get evidence. I love this advice. You can teach yourself to ship stuff, to finish and then just to publish and to finish to just get it out there. Now, this is where you can get into a bit of trouble because I routinely will like write a story, read it through, put it on the blog, and then go back to my day. And then come back during a live read aloud, like at the Legend Haven Con, and go, "Oh my gosh, this thing needs editing. I forgot stuff and I missed stuff." Vic got some of that. Um, uh, yeah, so I should have done an extra pass of editing. All right. Honestly, though, I am more interested in not leaving like a short story sitting in a draft box and never getting done. I literally get a sense of like reward when and a sense of confidence when I'm done with something and I put it out there and then I don't look back and I start working on the next one. Now, not everybody wants to do that. That's just something I do. It's a little bit of a bargain I've made with myself because I would spend forever like re-editing a story, taking forever to like make it amazing or something like that. So now I've decided, okay, I know that let's say in about two hours or so, I can write. What did I do? Maybe like 3,000 words, something like that. So over 2 days, that's a short story. And then I can just reread it once, put it online, be done. And that feels good because then I like after a month, 2 months, I can come back and I can look at my blog and go, well, look, I shipped stuff. Now I don't really have an audience yet, but that's another conversation for another time. But I can feel a bit of confidence, like, I'd start to literally believe in myself. I can actually do this. If I want to, I've started building the confidence, the habit. I know how to ideate like an end state to something. Um, I have a bit of a reward, either in just the feeling of knowing that it's done, that I can see it actually being alive. And that's again, this comes to for me, the end state of like, can I actually see something um be done? If you have no idea what it looks like for something to be done, it can be very hard to make progress. And so it's a reward to see a story being done and shared online and maybe shared with my audience. Now, if you're doing something bigger, like a novel, uh, seeing the little word counter tick up, like, oh, look, I did this many words. That's pretty fun. Take a photo of that and share that on Instagram, or talk about your latest chapter on with your speed, not speed, what's it called, street team, right? Or a couple of your friends. Maybe you've got a read aloud group where you come and sort of gather together to talk about the progress that you're making. Um, Again, it's not about it being perfect, but it is about just making progress. It's about you building up the confidence in yourself that you can do this. But again, this goes all the way back to, I think, our imposter syndrome sort of conversation. I've got this metaphor in my mind of like, if you want to jump a canyon, you can't just run and do it on the first time. Just got to get a bunch of little practices in. So go on a little adventure before you go on a Lord of the Rings long trek across Middle Earth with your massive story. Maybe start with a little adventure. Go on, do something small, and get that done. The feeling and the confidence that you get from like, oh, I wrote a novella. I wrote my first short story. I created a novelette, and it's done. I can do things, right? Who gave me this power? You're just literally teaching yourself how to finish. So it's literally a skill. And sometimes it wasn't taught to us or shared, or it wasn't, something that was encouraged maybe when we were young. So now we're at the point where we have to collaborate with ourselves. And it's kind of the grown-up's job of coaching yourself and not doing it with kind of this productivity bro of like, you're weak, you suck, get it done, 5 more reps, get on the ground, recruit. If that works for you, go you. It doesn't for me. I want to shoot back at whoever does that. So go the route of, especially with creativity, encouragement, kindness, reward. Maybe the problem is having a look at the rest of the structure of your day, having a look at where your energy spots are, having a look at who has access to you and your time. And maybe it's about renegotiating that. If writing and creating your stories is such a big deal to you, then have a look at everything else. Maybe go on a retreat, maybe go on a social detox, maybe do some fasting, right? Social detox is basically a fast. Do something different to create breathing room and create sudden space, to create the possibility for a bit of boredom so that you can lean back in with your creativity. If that's helpful, please let me know. Drop it in the chat and drop it in the comments. And I'd love to come back and chat with you if you have any further questions. All right, we got our first guest coming on. We have our first guest. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Hi there.
Good morning. How are
Good
you?
to be here. Doing great.
Get you in my headphone. There we go. Now I can hear you. What do I call you? Jay? I've got you as Jay Kenton? Okay.
Yeah, just Jay Kenton.
Okay. Good morning. Where are you out in the country? I'm in Virginia.
Oh, I'm out by Pittsburgh.
Oh, Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Okay. I used to live there for, gosh, 7 years maybe? Closer to Scranton, though. Well, it's good to have you with us. So I think you've got a new novel out, and Raconteur Press said, hey, you need to talk with Jay Kenton about his latest novel. Am I right? It's A Kiss for Damocles. Is that right?
A Kiss for Damocles is the debut novel. That's the one that is currently a finalist for the Prometheus Award.
Okay. Congratulations.
Yeah, the sequel. Oh, thank you. The sequel is Stormjammer, which will come out in June.
Okay.
And there's a parallel series that it runs alongside. It's independent, but if you read them together, you get the whole big story. Because the Tales for the Long Night are one big, whomping, huge story anyway.
Okay.
So the parallel novel is Warlord of Greenline Town. The newest release that just came out a week or two ago is a prequel novella, An Apple for the Legion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big, complicated universe. The stories aren't, but in my head, I've got this whole thing, this whole big storyverse mapped out. I blame J. Michael Straczynski.
Okay, so you've thrown a bunch of really interesting stuff in the air here, and we just need to unpack some of this. So one is, well, the Prometheus Award. I've not heard of this. Who is Straczynski? I got to understand more about this epic world that you're building. I want to hear your origin story. So, yeah, let's just start at the top. Tell us about the Prometheus Award. I think you said you're in line to receive that.
Yeah, I'm one of 5 finalists for the Prometheus Award from the Libertarian Futurist Society.
Okay.
And I am, the other finalists are Sarah Hoyt, David Freer, and Guns from the South author, Harry Turtledove. There's a 5th one, and no disrespect, I just can't remember the name. But so my debut novel for little amateur me is parked on the finalist slate with people who wrote some of my favorite books. That's kind of mind-blowing.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations. So tell us more about this world. You said Tales of the Long Night?
Yeah, it's a space opera universe. Most of the books are a post-apocalyptic frontier sort of setting. Colony which was cut off and largely wrecked by the war. Bad guys came in, didn't have enough troops to secure all the major cities, so they dropped asteroids on them. Hit the seas, let the tsunami do the killing work. And then, well, they figured they'd take the secondary cities, key points. So they sent just enough troops, just enough. Unfortunately, one of the rocks they dropped jiggled a caldera, Yellowstone size, and it cut loose with a Yellowstone-sized eruption. Years of volcanic winter, centuries of global cooling. And the climate's centuries later, when the kiss for Damocles occurs, the climate's just now starting to rapidly normalize.
Hmm.
Long years, so they've got 9 months of winter, 9 months of summer. Spring and fall are proportionally longer too, which means famine's a big issue, especially in the winter. Um, the protagonist is in an area where they've got polar nights. You think Barrow, Alaska is bad with 28 days of darkness? Try 9 months. Good
Wow.
time to gestate babies, though.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's frontier and post-apocalyptic, but there's space opera tech. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I was
that's
gonna. I
question,
was just
please.
saying. Okay. So, when we say space opera, there are a couple of different contenders. What does that mean in terms of your world?
Well, I have it's a universe where faster than light travel exists, which
Hmm.
is how the Terran Empire turned Commonwealth was able to spread. How I get to bring in all the neat aliens and such.
Hmm.
It's a Babylon 5 style faster than light. You duck into T space, transit space,
Hmm.
go to another point, come out, and you've traveled farther than you would have just traveling in real space.
Okay.
I think Niven did something like that too, null space or end space, I think. Um, the colonists aren't praying to sky people or an old snack machine. They know what they've lost in the war. They know that they're starfaring people. They can still make high tech space opera gadgets and tools, but only on a cottage industry basis. And they have to
Hmm.
keep most of their industry and advancements underground because when the bad guys took the orbital, achieved orbital supremacy, they deployed an artillery network, class Damocles, and its job was to provide fire support to the ground troops. And it's run by an AI.
Hmm.
The last orders the AI got before the Legion's HQ was scrubbed by a pyroclastic flow was to drop a rod on any non-prosperity tagged vehicular traffic because it might be partisans,
Hmm.
and also any non-prosperity tagged wireless communications. So if you pick up a radio and you're not on a prosperity frequency, you get a rod.
Hmm.
You fly your air car or even internal combustion engine, you know, and it doesn't have an IFF mutual prosperity tag, you get a rod. And
So when you
sometimes
say a rod, what is that? Like literally a steel spike or something?
kinetic energy weapon, a rod dropped from orbit, nickel
Okay.
iron, and it's a whole network.
Yeah.
You've got small what they called lazy dogs. That's a military term where they would just drop a chunk of iron, an iron inert bomb to wreck things. You
Hmm.
just drop it from orbit. Takes, I think I looked it up, maybe 10, 20 minutes. But they also have mass drivers if they've got a target that needs service more quickly. So mass driver firing a big tungsten rod from orbit. It can do tactical strikes, small surgical strikes. It can also drop city killers.
Hmm.
And it's unmanned. It's just got its little robots doing maintenance and repair. It's got some robotic support ships mining the asteroid belt for more ammo. And all
Hmm.
it does is when it picks up wireless or vehicular traffic that's unauthorized, it goes whomp, which
Man,
makes it kind of hard to rebuild your civilization.
right.
I've
This
worked
kind of
well.
reminds me of that new film, The Creator. I think there's this massive semi-orbital thing that flies around. It uses laser instead, though.
Haven't seen that one yet. I'm
Okay.
woefully out of date.
Okay. Sorry, I interrupted you. Please go on.
Well, go on. I ramble. I will just keep going unless you
Hey,
stop me.
this whole
This is
half hour is for you.
relevant. We need to talk about.
No, that's awesome. We got actually a question in the chat here from Vic. What was the initial inspiration for this series?
Lots of them.
Yeah.
Originally, Andre Norton's Starman's Son, also from the 50s. It was also published as Daybreak 2250 AD. And I read that as a little kid, and that was the first post apocalyptic story.
Okay.
I like a big lived-in sci-fi universe like J. Michael Straczynski presented in Babylon 5,
Hmm.
or Gene Roddenberry cooked up in Star Trek, the original series.
Hmm.
Different cultures, ancient mysterious ruins. So I set it in that type of universe because I like to be able to throw more. I like to have a bigger arsenal of things to throw at my protagonist to complicate
Sure.
his life.
Yeah.
So it's post-apocalyptic, but it's also frontier. But it is in a universe where they had fast ships and orbital habitats and such, and can build them again if they get Damocles' boot off their neck.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. What are the pressures in play? Or I may have missed it with the different um, factions. Like who runs this Damocles thing, and who are they oppressing or trying to
Well,
control?
nobody runs Damocles. It's just a remote network that's been left there
Oh, I see.
because the original war between the Mutual Prosperity Coalition and the Terran Commonwealth, ended with basically their fleets died with their hands around each other's throats.
Okay.
The Prosperity sent just enough to get the job done, and that didn't work out so well. So if anybody won, it's a Pyrrhic victory.
Hmm.
And no reinforcements have come in the centuries since the war, and no reinforcements for either side. So the people are just trying to get by. You've got the usual frontier dangers: bandits, hostile xenos, um, kind of a bug thing. 6 legs, 4 arms, pinchers, big appetite,
Hmm.
and they're more just a hostile xenomorph. No acid blood, ain't nothing that fancy, but they swarm and they're unpleasant.
Hmm.
And there's other local dangerous fauna, and the climate itself is pretty rough in Shy Fen and Rose territory. Shy, the main character. Then you have competition with the towns. The larger towns were basically hubs that survived the war. A lot of in Shy's area, what's called Greenline Town, which was the Hachiko Soul Magway underground Magway mag network,
Hmm.
and it had all sorts of depots, stations, maintenance hubs, and such, and people sheltered there from the ashfall.
Hmm.
And it had a lot of light industry and hydroponics and such, and they hunkered down and survived the volcanic winter there.
Hmm.
But of course, those became the centers of trade and commerce and thus power. And they would send out people to set up homesteads to bring in resources. Shy's homestead, um, they were mainly getting by with pelts and maple sugar.
Okay. All right.
And the trader families who were increasingly running the towns, Greenline Town in particular, are leaning more into that company store game. Anybody from coal and coke country or timber country knows how that works. You basically get the homesteaders perpetually in debt,
Right.
and Shy finds a wreck from the war, and it's nothing you can fix up and fly, but it's just full of all sorts of materials and alloys, which are very difficult and expensive to make, and they
Hmm.
even the towns can only make them on a small scale. But reworking a slab of hull armor, or some the fiber optic, the materials and internal conduits, electronic components, reworking all that stuff is a lot easier. So her little homestead that's been struggling becomes a boomtown, or
Hmm.
will be, and that kicks over some apple carts, some economic apple carts for some of the trader families and politicians who envision a different type of future for Hesperides colony.
Hmm.
And there are a number of other factions, but that's the central conflict. Since we only have 20 minutes, I won't go into. I'll try to avoid little professor mode.
Oh man, I'm fascinated. This world sounds amazing. Do you have a copy of the book just to wave one around and show us?
One moment. This
Ah, there it is.
That's
Book
a
one.
Kiss for Damocles, Book One.
Hmm.
This is the first novel in the parallel series, The Warlord
Okay.
of Greenline Town.
Okay.
And the books, the two series kind of leapfrog each other.
Okay.
Ravati Aziz. Shy, Ravati Aziz. They have there's some a lot. Sometimes they'll be responding to the same incident, but they've both got their own plots, their own sets of problems, and there's only a little bit of screen time, a couple of scenes where both characters are on camera in the same
Hmm.
scene at the same time. It's not just a retelling of the story from another POV. Ravati has her own headaches.
Hmm.
So I can only torture one character so much, so I had to make other characters. And Shy is one of Ravati's headaches.
Okay. This is fascinating. I want to come back and ask about, well, the ideation and the writing process that's gone into, like you just said, leapfrogging between these two stories. Before that, though, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. What were some of your obsessions as a kid? What's your origin story?
I was
How long have
weaned
you
on
been an author?
Tribble Milk, watching the old Star Trek series in syndication with my
Okay.
mom. It's possible that I crawled around under a blanket being a Horta and used that as an excuse to steal snacks. Um, Also, the Horta scared the heck out of me. Always been a sci-fi nerd, and I was that kid that hyperactive, ADHD, OCD. Then you put on top of that bored. Well, that leads to bored as hell.
Hmm.
So I was always doing maladaptive daydreaming. So, which means
Oh,
I
what is
would be
that? Say
doing
more.
daydreaming. It means when instead of doing your homework or listening to the teacher or manning the cash register, whatever, you're just off in la la land with whatever
Okay.
story you're imagining.
Hmm.
I finally managed to organize and herd all of my daydreams and started writing them down. There was a lot of gaming. Got into D&D in sixth grade or so.
Hmm.
So that got me that led me into structuring my daydreams and
Nice.
then storytelling. And then of course MMOs. And then I realized that if I write, I don't need to provide Mountain Dew and Doritos. I don't have to find a healer.
Mhm. Right. So what's your uh what is it that you do or have done with your life? Were you always an author?
Oh no, no. I've the typical author path.
Yeah.
Lots of various jobs. Way too much retail. A decade or two where I basically worked enough in retail jobs to get to be able to afford to go clubbing and wake up the next morning and do it again.
Right.
Um, Army. I was Army Reserves right out of high school. Went to the Persian Gulf. Came back from the Gulf War and switched over to the Air Force Reserves. Army. I worked in a fuel and logistics unit,
Hmm.
and Air Force. I ended up working in a combat plans office. So I was just the weenie making notes on the map. I
Hmm.
wasn't a planner or anything like that. I
Hmm.
was the equivalent of that guy you see in the World War II movie, pushing the little things around on the table while the important characters talk.
Okay.
Um, worked in I've worked in molecular biology, lab tech again, not a researcher, but a lab monkey. Uh, got laid off from Pitt. They had a researcher who didn't bother telling anyone he wasn't renewing his grant.
Ah.
And suddenly they had a whole lab full of researchers and seasoned technicians
Hmm.
needed work, and there I am with 7 months running gels. So I got laid off there. And the state office was the first place that picked up the phone when I started job hunting the next week.
Okay.
I learned to type because my writing's awful. And also clerical work in the Army and the Air Force. So I've been doing the state clerical gig for 20
Hmm.
years now. The writing probably started about 15 years ago with my
Okay.
first published story, which was one of Shy's stories, being published in 2016 in Abyss and Apex. I had a few stories get picked up by the Grantville Gazette when it was still Eric Flint. They were Tales from the Long Night stories, and they were published in the Grantville Gazette Baines Universe Annex,
Hmm.
which was basically a labor of love where he kept a little a few slots open for classic fantasy and sci-fi.
Hmm.
In fact, an apple for the Legion, the novella that I just came out with, they had they had just decided that they wanted to serialize it right
Hmm.
before Eric Flint passed away. Um, they ran the first chapter or the first section of the serial in what was the last issue that was then closed out because he passed away right when they were putting it together. So no contracts went out, nobody got paid, and then they just pulled it. So it's not even. It was available for like 2 or 3 days,
Hmm.
and so I'm delighted that Raconteur Press picked me up and that they liked the novella well enough to run it, in addition to the novels and such.
Hmm.
Because I can finally tell that darn story. A handful of people read that first scene and liked it, and then it's just gone. Um, Raconteur Press ended up. I learned about them through the Writers Dojo.
Okay.
Larry Correa, Steve Diamond, and I learned about the North Texas Troublemakers there. And there was some
Hmm.
overlap. People I was acquainted with from the Baines Bar, the Bain Books Forum, and I started submitting when Space Cowboys 3 came out.
Hmm.
And it was one of the early Asperities stories. It starts on the same day as The Long Night, and I ended up with I think I'm up to 13 now, 13 or 14 stories of mine that they've run. At
Wow.
Liberty Con, after they'd run maybe 10 or 11 of my stories, they said, "Hey, I noticed in the Discord, all your stories are in the same universe. Most of
Hmm.
them are on the same planet. And someone said you might have some manuscripts." Why, yes. Yes, I do.
Since you ask. Yeah.
Um, the Ravati series, I was stuck when I
Hmm.
was writing Shy's first book. And she was in Greenline Town. The scenery felt wobbly. It didn't feel alive. The characters felt like cutouts.
Hmm.
So I decided to sit down and write the scene from the point of view of the militia officer who Shy gives migraines to. And I wrote the scene from her POV.
Hmm.
And then I said, let's take this back to the morning when she gets up. And it just grew on its own from there. And writing the two series, it's been a great help for me because each provides resources that enrich the other.
Hmm.
I'd originally decided to keep everything in the same story universe because Fluffy Kitty, yay. I get easily distracted. I was that kid that never finished a hobby. So I said, everything will be in the same universe before I start writing any fantasy or horror or romance. Well, I now have a 2,000-year timeline. So if I want straight up space opera, Space
Right.
Marines, hoo-ah,
Yeah.
post-apocalyptic, frontier, near future, can I fit it into this unit? Yes, yes, I can. And
That's amazing.
there are horror elements too, and it's not just hungry hostile Xenos.
Sure.
There are bad neighborhoods where Sam Neill is standing in the shadows, smiling.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
There's Eldritch
What is that
horror.
line? Places where we're going, we don't need eyes, right?
Yeah, yeah. There are
That film
some
terrified me as a kid. I only saw it once, never again. Do you have fantasy in the same universe as well, or is that
not fantasy. There are a lot
okay?
of things that some readers might choose to take it up as just an unexplained weird ass alien phenomena. Other people might say, that's no damn Xeno. That's some Lovecraft right there. Oh, crap. And there is a more advanced race that's allied with the humans called imps, little blue devil girls, which City of Heroes character was the origin of their species. They were they were they had interstellar flight while humans were still picking bugs out of each other's back hair, and
Hmm.
they think of us as their dim but trainable, tailless cousins.
Hmm.
And there are places they do not go, especially in T space. And their devil figure is something they call Dark Alone. And there occasionally some of these things show up, and nobody has a name for them, and the imps are just like, those are servitors of the Dark Alone. We need to hit them with antimatter now. We're big fans of takeoff and nuke the site from orbit when it comes to that type of thing.
Right, right. Shoot first, don't ask questions. What were some of your biggest, like you mentioned being, a bunch of different things, like you said, retail and the military, and then now working at the state office. Out of different things that have happened to you, what are some of the biggest influences that you've migrated into your storytelling?
Well, definitely the working in logistics.
Hmm.
You understand that a military, even a civilian group force, they need food, water, medical supplies, beans, boots, and bullets, as the old phrase goes. Things like toilet paper matter.
Hmm.
So I am able to bring an understanding of that in. I mean, I've seen a lot of sci-fi or fantasy where we've got this huge, massive army.
Yeah.
Who's cooking dinner? Or Luke's flying to
Every
Dayton.
time I look at those crowds, like packing, like for example, St. Peter's, all I can think of is just bathrooms. Everybody's going to need a bathroom about 2 to 3 hours. Everybody has to get processed. How is that happening? I mean, food is one thing. So anyhow, I get that. I
Yeah. I mean, watching Star Wars or The
Mhm.
Empire Strikes Back. Well, Luke's going to Dagobah system. That X-wing doesn't have a toilet. Are there rest stops in space?
Uh,
Yeah, how do you feed all these stormtroopers? Yeah, sometimes you see a show where they've got all these troops in a ship,
mhm.
and there's no latrine, there's no galley. How do they eat? How do they poop?
Yeah, swap out colostomy bags. They just give all the clones. It'll swap out colostomy bags.
Yeah.
So you mess around more with making that kind of thing make sense. I imagine it makes your world feel more lived in, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, because it's not about the logistics,
Mm,
but the logistics do matter.
right.
So it's not a universe that ignores the fact that troops need to be fed.
Mhm.
And also working in molecular biology, I'm not a biologist. I'm not a molecular biologist. I have a rude ape-like understanding, better than most television writers, though,
Right.
for network TV. So I'm able to at least figure out what I need to hand wave
Mhm.
and a manner of hand waving it that isn't coated in scalding anti-science.
Right. Right.
Or silver bullets, like, oh, just invert the positronic flow.
Yeah, there you go.
And then they flip a little chip around and turn it inside out. And so
Mhm.
I can avoid, I've got enough competence to avoid doing that type of
Mhm.
thing. There are places where I bust out the hand wavium. Um,
Mhm.
Ships maneuvering at velocity. The passengers and crew would be turned into a red paste on the bulkhead. Thus, the Dresden Blackstone inertial sump, because it's effing magic, as my brother-in-law described
There
it.
you go.
I don't worry about how the gravity works on the ships, and
Mhm.
I'm not math. I can't math well enough to figure out the equations needed for um, the assorted orbital trajectories, velocities, spin grav, that type of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I just let it go because it's more about the characters anyway.
Mhm.
I acknowledge that they exist and that they matter,
Mhm.
but I'm not writing about that because that's not what I'm good at.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I remember the distinct joy I had in a short story where I was trying to nuke a hurricane, and I was trying to figure out how fast something would need to fly, and realized first I sucked math completely, and then in that moment realized, oh, this is why I needed to learn math like at all. It's just so that I could figure out how to nuke a hurricane, and then I forgot it all anyway. So, last couple of questions: what are your writing habits like, and how do you make it work for you?
I basically have a line of dialogue or a comment that spins up into a scene,
Hmm.
and then I write a rough description of it, a few lines. Shy eats a sandwich and finds a bug or whatever, and then I put that as a card on a Campfire Pro on a whiteboard.
Hmm.
Then I eventually sit down with the scenes on the whiteboard and figure out what order to put them in, what I
Hmm.
need to fill a gap. I generally have a number of milestone scenes, and I know the ultimate the ultimate outcome of each story. I know
Hmm.
what the finale is going to be. I know what
Okay.
the milestones are on the way to it. So then I just kind of let my characters loose and follow them, writing up the incident report as they go. I'd love to be able to say I can sit down and say I'm going to write a book and
Right.
just hammer it out. There are people that do that. My brain is not wired in the way to do that. I'm
Right.
the guy who didn't do the term paper and thought about the term paper a lot and spent a day or two before it was due walking in circles, drumming my fingers, and then
Right.
sat down and hammered it out.
Hmm.
That's what happens with me writing a lot too. It's always percolating or fermenting, as the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly how I function too. It's like I mentally watch the movie or scrub through every detail and then hammer it all out like a madman. Um, what's next for you now that these are out? Are you working through additional manuscripts? You've got
Oh yeah,
fresh energy to tackle new stories?
Ravati's second book, The Ghosts of the Long Night, is going to be this fall, the end of the year. I don't know if it'll be December or January. And I am currently hammering away at Shai's third book, which is Stormjammer. Shai's stories are the core of the series. They are the heart of this universe.
Hmm.
And her main story arc, which is her helping her people reclaim their place in the stars and tear Damocles out of their sky. Book 3 is Fury of Avalon. Book 4 will be Avalon has Risen. I had the good fortune of being acquainted with Leslie Fish. I had asked her for permission to use some lyrics, and
Hmm.
she said, "Hey, it's free advertising." And I'd offered, I offered to let her read some of my stuff to make sure she was comfortable having her work associated with my scribblings.
Hmm.
And she then said, "Sure, I'll beta read for you."
Oh, cool.
So it was great having her as a beta reader. But anyway, that's so Shai's current arc is four books. It might be a 5 book quadrology, a Bane trilogy as they call it.
Hmm.
Just depends on how these scenes fill out as I write them. And after that, when Shai's people are free and they're able to build on the surface and their population recovers, and they
Hmm.
can start poking around among the stars, we're going to go see what happened to those people that wrecked our world. Um, Shai will. Shai gets to run amok.
Hmm.
It's a space opera universe. It's full of ancient empires, hostile Xenos, Eldricors, and Shai is going to run around punching them all in the face
There's
or
no-
kicking
yeah.
over their apple carts. Ravati's series is probably going to be 3 books. It might fluff out to 4,
Hmm.
but she's going to be doing other things. Then
Hmm.
I got a couple of characters that demand their own books in the years between the start of the war and the Long Night and Shai.
Hmm.
Nuevo Tijas Rangers. Uh, Southern prefectures weren't buried in ash, but they did get desertification when all that water got locked in the polar ice caps. So they had a totally different set of problems and totally different survival strategy. The ranchers and the haciendas ended up putting civilization back together because the major cities were scrubbed. And so there's the Nuevo Tijas Rangers and Danny Bozeman, who is, in his own words, an obnoxious, ill tempered son of a bitch. But he's one who will do the best he can to do what's right. He's just a jerk about it. Think Jane Cobb with morals and a bit more IQ.
Okay.
Um, then there's also the Inspector Singh investigations, which will predate the Tales from the Long Night. It's about an independent colony, um, a private effort to establish an independent colony before Earth got destroyed.
Hmm.
Yeah, my story verse, I took out Earth. Other than Titan AE, Earth is always saved. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's the Lost Home World or Hallowed Earth.
Right.
I wrecked it. Nobody here but us thermophiles.
Okay.
Because I wanted to build a society with certain leaning a certain direction, and it's a lot easier to do social engineering when you've got a couple 100,000 people
Hmm.
than a couple million. But Khalistan colony is where Inspector Singh will end up, and it um, he has his own set of problems. He was originally a police inspector,
Hmm.
so that'll be the Inspector Singh investigations. But these are a while down the road because I've got 2 more Shy books to write,
Hmm.
another Ravati Aziz book to write, and Gilder to frame for it. I'm swamped.
Yeah. Keep it frame for it. So, what is it about the two main characters? Um, what is it that you love about them? Such spirit, such adventure.
Well, she's scrappy. She was probably inspired by James H. Schmitz's The Witches of Caris, came out in the 50s, and a little bit of Pod Kane from Mars, from the old Heinlein juveniles. She's kind of like Laura Ingalls with a sawed off shotgun and extra grenades in space, fighting bugs. Um, Frontier attitude. She's a kid. She's 15 years old, but she's 15 years in the way that a frontier family is 15. Yeah, where 15-year-old kid is in the frontier. Adult responsibilities. Um, she's scrappy. She's got a lot of angry short girl energy. She's not a girl boss. She gets knocked on her butt plenty. And she knows that she's not going to win a fight with a big, tough cowboy. But she won't back down from him, because you back down once, everybody sees it and everybody thinks they can push you and your kin around. Um, Ravati Aziz is a professional militia officer and an armchair historian. She's moved up to become head of a police district in Greenline Town, because they've gone and merged the militia and the civil protection, the civil police, which she knows as a historian is a bad idea, but a job's a job. And she figures, well, I'll run my district for a few years and then move up into staff or training cadre. And she regards Shy as a venomous rodent.
Mm-hmm.
They're not adversaries or enemies, but Ravati's a mom, and all she can think of is if Shy being a bad influence on her daughter. And also, Shy has a tendency to brawl, which cops don't like. It's not that she minds the odd brawl, she minds the grudges that get spun up, the people that get stabbed as a result of a feud from the brawl. And her town is halfway between everybody. So she's just trying to keep the peace and go home to her family. And while Shy doesn't do things that prevent that, Shy's presence and those apple carts she's kicked over, they cause much misfortune to happen. People taking a shot at Shy, sending gangs of assassins after the kid, and Ravati has to keep the whole place from burning down.
And then beyond just these characters obviously sounding amazing, was there anything that particularly inspired them, or it was just these are really cool characters to work with?
Well, Shy is, like I said, she started out with the Witches of Caris. Um, you'd have to dig that one up. It's Bain kept it alive.
Okay.
James H. Schmitz, and some of the best classic sci-fi out there. Just the scrappy but good-natured frontier girl. She's the country girl with grease on her coveralls, who will punch you in the nose if she thinks you're bad-mouthing her, but she'll also be over there helping you pull an engine or fix
Mhm.
your fence if it goes down. And Ravati started out just a response to her, and I had to flesh her out, and then she took on a life of her own.
Mhm.
My characters conspire against me. Jim Butcher. Somebody asked Jim Butcher once if he ever has his trouble getting his characters to cooperate, and he said, "No, they work for me. I am not so fortunate. Um, I lay out plans and plot complications and traps for them, and they giggle
Mhm.
at a point, and then they go herring off and get themselves into more trouble than I could have imagined."
Yeah. I think I'm very similar in that way. The characters don't listen if they don't want to. What do you think is going on with that? Why do you think your characters do that? I mean, you would think, like, I'm the author, I'm supposed to be in charge of this. Why is it that we're absolutely not in charge? At least some of us aren't.
I think on some level I'm kind of OCD about keeping my characters in character.
Mm.
I wouldn't do that. That's stupid. No, I'm not going to go down into that basement with a flashlight that's flickering. I'm going to throw the lantern down there and torch it and run like hell.
Right. Mhm.
Okay, we're going down to the basement. Everybody locked and loaded? I can't write them out of character, and
Hmm.
they're in my head when I'm. It's like playing chess with yourself or Panzerblitz with yourself. I've got to think this is the way this character would respond, which then
Hmm.
changes how I originally intended the other character from responding. And you have to craft these characters have to develop personalities if they're gonna anything they do matters, or if anything I do to them is gonna matter to the reader.
Hmm. Well, we've had a fantastic over a half hour conversation about this. These books sound toothsome. Where can folk find you online, Jay Kenton, to get a copy, join your mailing list, hear about the
Okay,
forthcoming books?
my let me pull up my Substack. My Substack is Tales from the Long Night, and my author page on Amazon is J. Kenton Pierce. If you just go to Amazon and search for A Kiss for Damocles or J. Kenton Pierce, that has the two novels I have out, the two novellas, and
Mhm.
the 12 or 13 anthologies that Raconteur Press published
Mhm.
that sorry I've got
Yeah, that
long
include your.
stories in.
Yeah.
My Substack is jkentonpierce.substack.com. Title of it is Tales for the Long Night. I try to keep that devoted strictly to storytelling and nerd stuff.
Mhm.
Um, Facebook, my Facebook is a cesspit of
Right.
bloody disgusting
Abandonment.
parts.
Yeah.
It's not abandonment, it's just nasty political.
Got
If
it.
you've got a
Okay.
political litmus test, I'm going to fail it no matter what side you're on.
Okay.
But the Substack, I keep that to either talking about my writing or my commentary on some movie or
Mhm.
just general influences and such, and lots of dank memes. Non-political though.
Okay. Well, I'll put the links in the description in the comments below for folk to check you
Did I
out.
send you those links, or did Sam
Sorry?
send those? Did Sam send you those links, or
If he didn't, I can grab them online.
I'll send you an email with the links.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Jay, this was a fun conversation. Thank you again for coming on.
We'll need to
Much
talk.
success.
We'll need to talk about the horror aspect somewhere down the road. Is the horror
Well,
element?
your next book comes out, um, hit me up. I'd like to have you back on to talk about that.
I'd like that. That'd be great. I appreciate the chance to ramble about my nerd stuff.
Hey, that's exactly what this whole live stream, what this show is about. It's just nerds rambling together and talking about books, favorite
Booyah.
topics. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Have a fantastic rest of your day, sir.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Cheers. All right, friends, we have a couple of minutes on this live stream before our next guest comes on. Hopefully, it's going to be Sam Robb. So give me a second to double check my inbox just in case he sent me an email. He's not able to make it. And if not, then I'm going to pivot and we'll talk about some of the latest super fun updates that I shipped after the con because we have a weekly email that comes out. All right, I don't yet see anything. So we'll just give him a minute. Wasn't that fun? I love somebody who has spent so much time building this building this bigger world like he has. Um, Also, wasn't it interesting? Sort of the echoing back to what we talked about earlier about different ways to finish. And so, like in his mind or in his case, he scrubs through a story over and over until he gets to a point where it's really clear. So there's a lot of visualizing. Um, if you know that's something that professional sports people will do, they'll spend a lot of time visualizing what they want to do, and you can actually get better if you do it really, really intentionally. So when you're not actually practicing, you spend time visualizing. I think we can do that as storytellers. That's what I do. Spend a lot of time practicing the story that way, so that when it's time to come and sit down, you got a very clear sense of exactly how it's going to be. You're not just discovery writing through a white page or a blank page. I don't yet see Sam. Hold on, let me go check Substack. Maybe he messaged me over there. Give me a second. Substack. And I don't yet see him. We'll just give him an. Oh, there he is. Sam's in the lobby. Hello, Sam. Welcome back. How are you?
I am doing fine. Can you hear me?
I do hear you. Now, there might be a delay. How fast can you respond?
I can respond pretty fast.
Okay, that almost sounded on time. Awesome. There seemed to be some little delay I had over the weekend. People would jump into the lobby, they'd wait for a couple of minutes, and then there'd be sort of a delay and it would tee back up. Anyhow, good to see you. How have you been?
Oh, I'm doing fine. It's been a busy couple of weeks, and man, things are just. I've got a daughter getting married, so among other
Congratulations.
things, I've got I've got that going on. How have you been?
Oh, nuts, certifiably. But it's been good. We moved to a new home and finished painting up the old rental, got out of there very next day, ran the con over that weekend,
Oh man,
and it worked well. It all came together
awesome!
really well.
I heard a lot of good things about the con.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
glad.
you know, Chris Note was on with you, and
Mhm.
I think Rick Cutler was back, and a lot of people that were talking very positively about it. So,
I'm stoked to hear that.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's I'm working on my after action report. I try to put one out every after every event. Um we mostly got like just fantastic feedback. I'm always looking for like where's it broken? Where can we make this faster, better, more epic or ludicrous, stuff. Um and so now that we're running these cons twice a year, so we'll come back December 5th, which is St. Nicholas feast day. Perfect for a Christmas festival, stocking stuffers.
Awesome,
I think we'll keep this as a thing as close to May 4th as possible because May the 4th be with you, and
of
the
course.
5th, which is perfect timing for a Christmas festival. And we'll try to run this twice a year as a weekend. But major thing that I'd like to work on for improving for next time is actually going to be like a we need some kind of a marketplace experience that persists all year round.
Hmm.
That stays publicly available. And so that's what I'm going to be working on trying to build. Because otherwise you get like this super dope, stuff. Like look at all these amazing books that are being shared in this sort of book fair, but it's not accessible outside of the con. So I need to
Yeah.
fix that.
Um, yeah, no, actually, that would be if literally if you told some people that their stuff would be on your site, on your store, that you would be promoting it. Um, if you told me that, I would have found time. I would have made time. I was slammed this weekend, but I would
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
found 30 minutes to come on and
No
and
kidding.
and be part.
Technically, I do keep everybody who ever joins a con stays archived on the website, backlinks, pictures, and then if you're I try to this is something I did with this latest con, which had a section on the website, which is Epic Worlds Coming to Legend Haven, and basically just put a list of all of the books of everybody who came to the con, and that's I'm going to keep doing that. But now what I'm thinking I'm going to do is for this next time, I'm going to create like a Canva whiteboard, which is basically infinite, and I'll give
Hmm.
all the authors access to come in and literally create their own little boots. They can add their little
Oh,
books, link that off to whatever. So that means as soon
nice.
as you land, you'll be like airdropping into Disney's Magic Kingdom, and you'll see all of these, it's a bit like Fortnite, right? The discovery, like year over year, this thing is going to keep expanding out. I'm actually a little bit terrified of what it's going to be in year 2 or 3, but that's going to be an awesome problem to have.
Yeah.
And it'll just endure all year round. Just link to it from the website, go to the marketplace and zoom in, scroll in. And the beauty of using Canva, you're the first person I'm telling this to publicly, you in the live chat. The beauty of using Canva is that every author basically can, if they want to, can decorate their little booth however they want with like GIFs or Canva flair or whatever. So it's going to look absolutely insane and I think perfectly delightful. And to kick this off with a Christmas sense, it's going to feel
Hmm.
like, again, airdropping into like a Christmas fair in Germany. That's kind of the dream. And I think I
That's
can do it.
cool.
So that's the
Very
idea for
cool.
next time. All right.
Awesome.
Well, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your book, Sense of Murder, just came out, or it's right about to come out. What's the
Right
state of
about
that?
to come out. It's in pre-order now on Amazon. It's coming
Mhm.
out May 17th. And I've been told that my editor liked it. So yay, thank you, Charlie. Um, so it's really interesting. It's when I first gave it to my publisher, he read it and described it as a magical buddy cop story, and
Oh, that's
it
awesome.
is, and it very much is. But
Mhm.
it's also about a man with a secret, and actually multiple men with secrets. There's lots of secret things going on, and of course that's what you get when you have buddy cops. They kind of unravel things through the course of the story, trying to hunt down a rogue warlock who's been murdering people, and
Hmm.
they find of course, there's twists and turns along the way and revelations and
Hmm.
false directions. So and flaming demon zombies because, well,
Yeah.
of course it's fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
Why not?
so yeah,
That
there's some
sounds
good
fun.
stuff in there. I really enjoyed it. I really loved writing these characters. um so I'm hoping that
Amazing.
people will appreciate it.
All right, we're going to get into this. This is giving me vibes of what is it? Dresden Files and then Bright. Did you ever see that movie Bright on Netflix?
Yeah, yes. A little bit of that. It's a if you took the Dresden Files and Bright and uh drop them into a like Marvel shared multiverse sort of thing.
Okay.
I stole 100%. Great artist, good artist, invent, great artist steal, right? I stole the core concept from a comic book that I used to absolutely adore, still adore,
Yeah.
called Grimjack by John Ostrander. And the setting there was the city of Cynosure, which sits at the conjunction of every different type of reality you can imagine.
Oh my
And
gosh. Wow.
there's a couple of tributes to Grimjack in the book, including the main character from the comic book. His tagline gets echoed, um, but it's a world where you've got Roman legionaries, pirate, pirates sailing seas between the worlds. One of my main characters is basically a backcountry circuit judge. Uh,
Sorry, you're saying in your novel you've got
yes,
Roman
yeah,
legionaries and pirates all okay.
all. And
Awesome. Keep
the
going.
great thing about that is, right, that sort of setting is you can throw whatever you want in there, right? You've got
Hmm.
all these, infinite worlds, infinite possibilities. Magic works here, guns work there, swords work everywhere. Um, and you can just kind of make things up and have all sorts of bizarre things. And
Hmm.
I love that in the comic book, and I'm like, I want to write that sort of story. So
Amazing.
I did.
Amazing. Okay. Do you have like an author proof copy you can wave around?
I do not.
No?
I do
Okay.
not. I
So
wish I did.
can you give us the blurb? And then I want to understand, how do you make a world like that work when there seem to be so many conflicting cultures, I guess magical laws, or like states of, I don't know what you call them, reality lock or whatever. So the world building, how do you make the world building work? But what's the blurb so far?
Okay, the blurb, going to Amazon here. In a far-flung corner of the world's spanning empire, Sir Kellen Toriestis is a highwayman sworn to keep the peace in the rugged outlands. Armed with a revolver from a forgotten war and a hidden talent to see truth, he is an agent of justice and peace in a wild land, so long as he keeps his talent hidden, lest he be pressed into the service of the empire. When Prospero, an imperial magus, arrives in the Outlands hunting for a magical truth teller, Kellen is assigned as his guide. Certain he can keep his talent concealed and maintain his freedom, Kellen escorts the magus on his journey. All goes well until a string of seemingly unrelated murders exposes demons, dark powers, and a warlock weaving cruel designs in the shadows. As Kellen and Prospero investigate, they follow a thread that leads from the Outlands to the city of Victor de Rea, links whores and politicians, and takes them from fine restaurants to piratical celebrations. Saddled with a suspicious young seer and facing demons clawing at them from the unreal, the two must work together to unravel the warlock's conspiracy before he kills again. But can Kellen locate the killer without exposing his own power and surrendering the independence he's fought so hard to protect? Duty demands truth, survival demands secrecy. Kellen can't have it both Kellen can't have it both ways, and time is running out. So
So it sounds like you had fun and didn't want to stop.
that is certainly One way, that's certainly one way to look at it.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's talk about this world building. It sounds fascinating. Um,
Mhm.
Far braver than anything I would have done. I'm far too OCD about like stuff's got to hang together and have a clear vibe,
Oh, oh,
and you're
oh.
just like kitchen sink the fun out of this. So, how do you make this world work?
Um, the setting, honestly,
Mhm.
I kind of hint at it and I drop it in the book. But one of the things that I do like is a technique that Dave Butler, DJ Butler, likes to talk about as world telling as opposed to world building.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
you don't you don't explain everything, right? The
Mm,
classic Heinlein, the door irised open. You don't need to know anything more than that. You don't explain the mechanism behind it. Now you just know that you're in a science fiction story.
okay.
Um, so there's lots of things that I drop and that I mention that I don't necessarily explain.
Mhm.
But the setting is very much grounded in Christian theology.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
it's the idea that our universe, our world is one of many that God created, and that there's a war going
Mm,
on in heaven. There's the war between the forces of the Creator and the forces of the accuser,
mhm,
and um, that is wide ranging. And one
mhm,
of the things that happened in the course of history is that uh, the creator basically God basically uh, pulled a couple of Roman legions out of our world and dropped them into this multiverse in order to form the core of a fighting force. And this, so for the last 2,000 years, this war has been going on, and that's kind of the backdrop for everything. You've got multiple sources of power and influence going on. The empire tries to fight against the accuser, and there are worlds that are won and lost. There are cultures that exist across the multiverse that are very different. The next book that I'm planning, the sequel to Sense of Murder, I plan on going to a formerly dead world that is now basically at if you think of what it would be like if Appalachia had expanded across the entire Earth. Um, dense forests, strange creatures, all sorts of haunted things in the hills.
yeah.
But that's one of the things that drew me to the idea of this setting is do I want to tell a ghost story?
Mm,
Yeah, I can. Do I want to tell a war story? I can direct my characters to a place where one of these battles isn't in the future or in the far past. It's something that's going on right now.
mhm.
Do I want to tell a story about what like politics, imperial politics, or outworld politics? I can go ahead and do that. So the idea, it's not very different, honestly, if you think about it, from like the idea that you have a science fiction story with a huge empire that spans the spiral arm in the Milky Way and millions of worlds and different cultures. It just gives you a chance to play around with it in a magic
Okay.
setting
Yeah.
where I can go ahead and have strange creatures and weird things pop up.
No, that's amazing. It sounds like you're setting up, I mean, a world or a story arena that could be absolutely massive and you could return to almost forever.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, in all honesty, yes. That's one of the things that I can drop these characters. I can pick up some more. I can
Yeah,
move
yeah.
around. It's awesome.
Oh, that sounds so cool. Um, so okay, there's a what's the magic system like in this, or how deep do you go into that sort of thing?
I don't actually. I mention it. There are very obviously there are major talents in the world. That if you think of those, I mentioned Prospero, who's a magi.
Hmm.
If you think of them as the mages who have kind of like jack of all trades.
Hmm.
they're not necessarily the best at anything, but they can learn to do everything. Then you have singular talents like Kellen. His talent is truth telling. He's able to see when people are lying or when they're disturbed or whatever. Think of it, he sees people's auras. Um, but he doesn't really have the ability to branch out much beyond that. So we've got two different types of mages, but they're all connected to. They refer to it as the weave. It is the lines and the honestly what knits reality together, and they work with magic by basically taking strings of reality and pulling on them to get different effects.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What, and maybe you have answered this, but what inspired this? Because the last time we chatted, you were on the channel, you were talking about sigils, and
Yeah,
I think the first half had come out, then you released the second half, um, if
still
memory
working
serves.
still working on the second half of Sigils. That's going to
Okay.
hopefully be coming out later this year.
Hmm.
And then once I get that done, I'm going to roll on to doing the second book, sequel to A Sense of Murder.
Yeah.
Um, no,
So you went from
the
portals in Chicago to like multiverse and multiple
oh
timelines.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I can't. I have to have portals. I have to have multiple worlds. I just can't seem to get around that. That's what trips my
Mhm.
trigger. So I write it. Um, but yeah, this one was a lot of stories, a lot of ideas that I have come from a core with sigils. I think I told you it was seeing a bit of graffiti in Pittsburgh,
Mhm.
where somebody had sketched out a huge circle on a stanchion under a bridge,
Mhm.
a wall under a bridge that said and wrote above it in French, "This is not a door." I'm like, oh my goodness, that is absolutely a door. So my mind started going
Yeah.
um, with with this. Honestly, I had the concept of Prospero and Kellen as being investigators for this empire, um, but I didn't know how they met.
Mhm.
So I thought about that and went back and forth about how they could have encountered each other, and ended up writing a short story, basically like, oh yeah, this is how they met. And it was kind of just meant to for me to get that out and get that in my head,
Mhm.
or get that settled, and went from there. And I'm like, there's more to this. There's
Mhm.
more to this story than what I told. So John Holmes at Canon uh, basically picked up the short story, the novella for one of his books, and then came back to me and said, "Okay, so when are you writing the novel?" Um, and he's got a new imprint, a new publishing house, Celine, that's primarily doing fantasy. So
Mhm.
I wrote it for Celine, um, and I'm one of the first two books out for that publisher, myself and BK Gibson. Uh,
Mhm.
I forget the Freedom's Vow, I think is the name of their book. That's
Nice.
Ben and Karen Gibson writing together. So um, it's really kind of an honor to be the first book in a new press.
Mhm.
So kind of stoked.
That's awesome. So apart from your editor's good opinion, who I assume might be on your payroll, what are some of the other what's some of the early, good feedback? And please brag a little, what is it people are loving about this?
Oh, they there are a couple of things that they like. One is that Kellen is a very real, very kind of down to earth guy. He grew up in uh, basically, if you think of it as magical Wild West,
Mhm.
um, he is not very given to understanding or wanting to deal with things like imperial politics. But that's where Prospero is. That's what as a magus in the empire. That's what he's had to deal with his whole life. People pulling him one way or the other, trying to get something out of him. So he's got a very different view of how things go. So the contrast between the two of them is really good. And then the third character in the trio I mentioned in when I was reading the blurb is, a young seer by the name of Nissa, and she is basically thrust upon them as part of a deal in order to allow them to keep doing what they're doing instead of getting drug off to something else, that someone thinks is more important. So
Mhm.
she's kind of a hall monitor, making sure that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, um, and ends up, over the course of the book, becoming part of the team.
Mhm.
And it's really the three of them together that make it possible for them to, to get done what needs to be done at the end of the book.
Mhm. Mhm. That's fun. That sounds fascinating. Okay, so the book is coming out, well, a couple of weeks as of today's recording, so we're not too far out.
No, and it's really excited. You can find it on Amazon. You can pre-order it, and it will be out in electronic book format and in paperback.
That's awesome. Sam, this was really fun. I'd actually love to have you back to chat more about, um, well, how Rack Press functions and stuff. And, you and I could schedule time sort of
Yeah.
independently, or we could just have you right back on here to talk the mechanics of how to run a publishing sort of imprint or your involvement with it and how stuff works. It might be helpful for other people. But I'm fascinated, as I mentioned, with two follow-up sort of topics. One is distribution, the other is covers and how you make
Yeah.
that work. And I think I'm interested personally for myself and
Hmm.
for my community, but there may be also be a bunch of authors out there who are indies who are either interested to get a sense of how you all work or how they can sort of apply that to themselves. So should probably have a not perfunctory, it's the wrong word, obligatory shout out to Rack Press. And what is it for those who have never heard of it and are just catching this clipped out replay of your conversation? What is Rack Press?
Rack Press is a small publisher out of Texas. We are growing. I do public relations for them. We publish novels, boys' books in the very traditional kind of, Heinlein juvenile, mad scientist club sort of,
That's awesome.
great brain sort of books, and anthologies. We got our starting with anthologies. Our latest one is doing really well. That's Anti-Heroes. And if you're interested in seeing what a bunch of gray-haired old ladies do when they're confronted by aliens, creatures from another dimension, Dunwich horror type things, that's a great anthology. Um, but yeah, we're a small company. We're growing, and we always have an open call for our anthologies, and we're always interested in talking to new writers.
Sam, I think that's an awesome place to wrap. Wait, where can folk find you online? And I'll put the links in the description as well. But what's your website?
You can find me at Sam Robb Writes. That's Sam Robb, ROBB with two B's, Writes, .com. And you can find Raconteur Press at raconteurpress.com.
Fantastic. It's a great place to wrap. Thanks for coming on. It was fun to see you again.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here.
Have an awesome rest of your day and good luck with the launch.
You too, sir.
Cheers. All right, friends, as we wrap out or close out this live stream, those guests are fun. Rack Press just does such incredibly fun stuff. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to have a quick look here at some community updates. So this is stuff that, let's see, I have been working on. Every week, I try to put out a new little blog post that summarizes the latest and most interesting things that happen in the community. If you have not yet heard of it, it is called Pennon, and it is a weekly email that I send from the Legend Fiction blog. So we're just going to scroll through this. This is especially for those who are curious about what Legend Fiction gets up to. And we are basically kind of building in public, and I'm trying to share the process of what we are doing so that you can get a sense of it. First of all, we finished our online con. Take this here. We finished our online con. this past weekend, which was a massive sort of fun event, 2 days, 4 live streams, 20 plus, storytellers, loads of story read alouds, meetups in the expo. It was like a whole big deal. And you can watch the clip out um, keynote that I presented that kicked off this thing. I hope that you have fun with it, and hopefully it kind of lights a fire under you to get doing good stuff, which is exactly why, well, it's what's going on in my mind. And hopefully it can inspire you and yours. So we've got that. That's now available. If you head over to legendfiction.com, you can hit the button that goes to the blog, or you can go to legendfiction.substack.com. And then this is going to be pinned for a week, and then next week I'll put out a new one. Okay, we are here's our announcement for our Christmas festival, which is going to be December 5th and 6th. St. Nicholas's feast day. We plan to be back for a stocking stuffer celebration of stories and novels. So hopefully we're all going to have fun and continue to do this better every time. What is Pennon? It's a weekly digest packed with everything to help you live the dream as a storyteller. We then have a roundup of some of the coolest stuff that either recently came out or stuff that's being featured. Usually it's the most recent stuff. Since I didn't do a live stream last week, I'm just going back and showcasing stuff that most people on the emailing list never saw. So stories need community. I do think that's a real thing. The being a completely lonely, isolated writer who ships stories from orbit and hopes desperately that everybody leaves them alone, I don't know that that's a sustainable way to go. And so you can have a watch. This deep dive, it's available on the YouTube channel. You can give this a little watch. Frankly, storytelling is a communal activity. So finding a way to make that work for you can actually inspire you to do a lot more because it puts you in touch with your audience. Um, this is something that I've been kicking around, and I am very interested to see what people think. I'm putting together a wait list for this book club. The idea is I studied online all of the reasons why people hate book clubs, and then went and tried to create a book club idea for a way that fixes it all and actually makes it interesting for everybody involved, where there's never actually any pressure to read the book. We'll meet twice a month, and it's packed with like live voting, and then we'll have a featured author from sort of the legend fiction pool of featured authors who come read their book aloud, and then the second week we come back to meet each other and do some networking, and then also read aloud a chapter from that book. So it's the kind of thing where every time that you meet, it's always different, it's always original. You can read the book in the background, throughout the month, but the goal is that everybody gets to vote on it. And the nerds who basically pitch the book that everybody gets to vote on have to sort of stand up and make their, how do I say, sell the book to the room. If you're going to pitch like the books, we're going to vote on the top three, and then whoever makes it to the top three, if they want to earn a goodie basket that I will mail to them, then they have to take 30 seconds and tell everybody, here's why my book should win the vote for this month. And then everybody gets to vote based on that bit of a game show. Um, Based off of that, then whoever wants to actually read the book can, and it ends up being the recommended book for that month. And then we come back in 2 weeks to talk about it. That should give most of the speed readers time to get through it, and most everybody a chance to get through like halfway or something, or not at all. For those who aren't sure what should go on their to be read list, this version of the book club tries to make it fun and unique every week with story read alouds and plenty of networking and getting together around finding what books are worth your time or not. Because it's just annoying to be in a book club where they're reading something that you don't care about. At least this way, everybody gets to vote on it and have fun. So you can check that out. And if that interests you, join the waitlist. All right. Our latest publication, Arclight Hollows. We wrote a book. Basically, it's a collection of short stories all set in the world of Legend Haven, which is itself a massive fantasy world, a bit like Dragonlance, right? Or Westeros or something. So there's 8 stories. They're all published completely online for free, but you can buy a copy of the book. It's available on Amazon right now, and 100% of the book sales are paid out to the authors. Legend Fiction doesn't get a cut. I don't get a cut because I'm the founder of Legend Fiction. Everything goes out to the authors. At this point, this is our publishing agreement with all of the authors who write for our anthology. So you can have a look at that. These stories are fantastic. They're incredibly fun. I started creating this world. It's from sort of my imagination. And then there's 7 other stories from other members of the community who just enrich and deepen and develop this world in ways I didn't expect, and it ends up being incredibly fun and adventurous. You can have a look at our recent guest authors. So I clip out the different interviews that we have, conversations with our guests on these live streams, and then feature them in this blog. So have a look at Nick and his fantastic adventure, The Peace Child. You can meet Nick and have a look at what he's up to, and you can see all of the guest author interviews. We have a lovely little testimonial. Thanks, I guess it's Caliban. Thanks for your kind words. Legend fiction has provided a framework of friends to keep me going when writing gets tough. So we try to feature one of those once a week. Now, upcoming events. We are in not the middle, early stages, first week of a 30-day to 30K writing challenge. We're planning on running these twice a year. A little bit of it's kind of our replacement for NaNoWriMo. We have people in the community right now, and they're logging in every single day. They're watching a short, sort of 2-minute message of inspiration from storytellers, from other authors, all who came through the Legend Fiction channel. And they're watching that little bit of inspiration, and then they're recording what they wrote on that day. Some doing 1,000 words, some are doing 10 words, doesn't matter. The goal is just to keep writing every day. Maybe you don't make it all the way to 30K, not a problem. It's about building up a habit, making friends, doing it together. It doesn't all have to be the same story. It can be whatever you want. We're very relaxed about it. The goal is just to build up writing habits together. And sometimes having a little bit of public accountability can be helpful. So we have some people who mark these events off in their calendars. Well, we did as of last time, and then they heard we were doing it again, and so they sort of penciled that off, and then they just plan and brainstorm and war game, and then they spend that 30 days actually getting it written. So hooray for those actually getting stuff done. All right. Oh, we got a limerick. I'm trying to see if I can write one of these. If you like writing limericks and you want to send one in to me that I'll include, you can drop it in the comments on this, and I might feature it in a future one. So there was a writer named Sue whose ideas were quite far and few. She joined Legend Fiction, she got some great inspiration, and now her books are a fantastic debut. Could be awful. Moving on. This is for inside our community, members only community news and events. I'm trying to do featured authors. So if you're published in one of our anthologies, send me a DM because I would like to feature you. I've got a super interesting quiz that's got up to 8 questions with like a bank of like 20 different options. And so every interview is fascinating and unique, and you get to meet the different members of our community and learn about their worlds, learn about what inspires them, what their writing habits are, what they think about things. So it's a fascinating way to meet our authors. So we're featuring Mary Rose Krager because she's just all around generally awesome anyway. And she's also a mentor in our community. We're in the season 2 of The Phoenix. It runs from April through June. So we just clocked our first month. And if you are looking for additional writing support, I've got a Legend Pass that you can purchase that gives you 280, if not maybe a little more, like $330 worth of master classes and writing support. You can either earn that by working up a 60-day writing streak inside the season, and then you can cash that in to get access to the Legend Pass, or you can just pay the 25 and get access to it. And I try to renew this or refresh it every season with new resources, sometimes excerpts or sample lessons from our writing school, so that every 3 months you get a fresh chance to learn a bunch of new things and get access to helpful and interesting things. If you snooze, you lose, and if you don't use it, you lose it. We have a tournament inside the Legend Fiction community, and every month we ask whoever's involved in this tournament, what is your word count? Okay. These word count warriors are people who absolutely love writing, and they want the motivation to keep writing together, and they stay accountable together. So it's a bit like the 30 days to 30K, except these guys just do it all day, every day, all year round. Because they want to build up that habit together. So we have teams of 4 members together, and they start a little group chat together, and then they either keep track of all of their writing in a spreadsheet, or they just sort of message each other like a little Discord chat. And every month, at the end of the month, everybody reports back in. Here's our group word count, and the word bearers have been carrying the title since, well, they won the Ever Badge in for the first season, the Quill Drake. Now we're in the second season of Phoenix, and they are easily over 100,000 words. I think I forget, actually, I said it right here, 88,000. Look at that, almost 100,000 words in their first month, and now they're back for their second month, and they're still holding the title. So anybody can challenge them. Anybody can start a team, take them on, and try to win this recognition. If the word bearers hold the title for 3 months of the season, they earn the Ever Badge for that season, which never goes away. Otherwise, the monthly tournament badge gets shopped around. Like if somebody dethrones them, then they get the badge and they hold that for a month. All right, featured short story contest. This is one of our big deal contests that we're focusing on right now. It is specifically for the Catholics in our community. We are looking for stories of saints. It is free to participate. You can jump in right now. You can see the existing stories that authors are writing. You can. It's a way for you to network and chat and see what other kinds of tales are being crafted. And then we, as I mentioned earlier, we pay out 100% of all the royalties, goes straight out to the authors. Obviously, our hope is that you're going to enjoy the experience so much that you join our community and continue to be, creative, write, start and finish your dream novels, but then also participate in all of our other ongoing collections. So this is our existing one, Saints and Sagas, and you can see all the open calls. Our welcome guide is now refreshed, so it's a little easier to understand and see what is in it. And we're always looking to make it easier for people to understand what's in our community and how to find it. This month, okay, so we have a creative writing school. Every month, we drop 3 lessons. You take 1 week off. Each lesson is about a half hour to maybe 40 minutes, where Gabby and myself just kind of breeze through all kinds of different topics that specifically help or focus on the craft of writing. Sometimes we include these in these live streams, and then they get gated for members only. If you are a student, you get access to all of these lessons. Which is where the goal is for this writing school is you will finish a novel in 12 months, or you will create your own anthology of, let's say, stories in 12 months. I can say every single one of these lessons is personally helpful to me. I am becoming a better writer just by having these conversations. And we'll have Gabby back on to continue talking about the school and how it's going, because she's the person who receives the story submissions every week and gives feedback on them. So direct, unique, personalized, tailored feedback to every student. That way, you're not just like, here's a textbook, read it. No, your writing sucks. Try to graduate. Instead, we take a whole lot more hands-on, a whole lot more helpful, hopefully a whole lot more interesting, and a lot of pop culture references. So you can check out the writing school and how it works. We got a featured resource. So I created it's a full-on blog post, and there's a little video in there. We talked about this on the podcast, the channel in the past. It's also available as a nice, neat, like a mini course as soon as you join the community, and then you can pick the right chronotype that you are, and you'll get a badge applied to your profile. And if you have never heard of what chronotypes are, this is an extremely helpful and interesting thing for authors to know. What is your energy hotspot? When are you most alive? Based on when are you supposed to be, when do you thrive being asleep, right? Depending on your sleep cycle creates a time when you are most attentive or have the most energy. So knowing that, whether it's early morning, mid-afternoon, late evening, perhaps just whenever you choose, and that's the dolphin. Um, if you know what time of day you're most active and alert and awake, and the time when you're best equipped to sleep, you might actually have an easier time being creative. So knowing your chronotype, and it could just be a season of your life, and then you become a different chronotype later on as you get older. Knowing this could actually give you permission to be like, I knew I only write at 1 p.m. in the morning because, and everybody tells me I'm crazy and I'm not allowed to or whatever. Well, maybe that's just actually when you're supposed to do it, because that's when you're actually online. So check it out. Hopefully it's a super helpful resource. Let's see. Lastly, we have a new line of merch on the store. Direct quote from something that I am moved by that I think is fantastic. I'm a light in the dark when all other lights go out. Total quote from Galadriel. It's available on the store. It's part of our Legend Haven 5 merch line. And finally, this is a free ebook that we're giving away. It's called Shards of Wonder. It's a collection of 6 short stories, and it's assembled from across the multiverse of fiction from our legend fiction authors, all who have been writing for the last 5 years. We've put together multiple contests and all of this into multiple collections of anthologies, So we pulled together 6 of the funnest stories, put it together into a little ebook. It's a sampler. You can download it, enjoy it, pull it into your e-reader, and enjoy it at any time. And there we go. So if any of this is interesting or helpful to you, we try to put these out every week. It's a way to stay organized, and it creates this super helpful, like I say, roundup of all the most interesting things to help you as an indie fiction author. Like I say, start and finish your dream novel. We'll just keep getting better at this with your feedback. So if you've got thoughts and questions, please let us know. Thanks again for stopping by. Hopefully, you got something interesting out of this live stream. And if you did, please say hi in the comments. Let us know, and we'll plan to be back next week. Well, till next time, keep writing. May the lore be with you. Cheers.